All right, welcome back everybody to the deep dive. We're going to be doing something a little bit different this time, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think everybody here listening probably has some ambitious goals, right?
Right.
And we've talked about a lot of different ways to achieve goals on this show, but today we're going to look at it from a different angle.
Oh, okay. So I think I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Brian Tracy and his book, Get Smart?
Yes, exactly. I've been wanting to get into this book for a while now.
Me too. I feel like it's one of those books you hear about a lot, but don't always get around to actually reading.
Totally agree. So I finally took the plunge, and I have to say, it's pretty insightful.
Well, yeah, Brian Tracy's kind of a legend in the personal development space, so it's no surprise.
But what really caught my eye was his emphasis on this idea of upgrading your thinking as the key to achieving those those ambitious goals we were talking about.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, we often think about success in terms of, skills and talent and hard work, all of which are important, of course.
For sure.
But how often do we actually stop to consider how our thinking might be affecting our ability to reach those goals?
That's a really good point. I know for me, personally, I can get stuck in certain thought patterns that definitely hold me back.
Yeah, me too. It's like we get in our own way sometimes without even realizing it. So how does Tracy approach this whole thinking upgrade thing?
Well, he starts by emphasizing self-awareness, which, sounds basic, but it's actually harder than it seems.
Totally. It's easy to just go through life on autopilot without really examining those underlying beliefs and assumptions that are driving our actions.
Exactly. So Tracy suggests taking a step back and really looking at your current thinking patterns, like identify those thoughts that consistently lead to positive outcomes, and then, just as importantly, pinpoint the ones that seem to sabotage your efforts.
Okay, so it's like doing an inventory of your thoughts, both the helpful and the not so helpful ones. But then what? How do we actually change those negative thinking patterns once we've identified them?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Tracy provides a bunch of practical tools and techniques for actually shifting your thinking. One that I found particularly helpful was his decision-making matrix.
Oh, tell me about that. I'm always looking for better ways to make decisions.
Yeah, right? Well, this matrix is all about taking the emotion out of the equation and making more objective choices.
Sounds promising.
Yeah, you basically list out your options, then identify the most important criteria for making the decision, and then you assign weighted scores to each criterion based on its importance.
Oh, interesting. So you're quantifying the decision-making process. I like it.
Exactly. And then you evaluate each option against those weighted criteria, and the option with the highest score wins. It sounds a bit technical, but it really helps you avoid those impulsive decisions that you later regret.
It makes sense. By forcing yourself to think through each criterion logically and assign those weights, you're less likely to get swayed by emotions or biases.
Right. And it's not just about big life decisions either. You can use it for everyday choices too, like, deciding what project to tackle first, or even choosing what to eat for dinner.
Right. Any decision where you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed.
Okay, so we've talked about self-awareness and decision-making, but there's another piece of this thinking upgrade puzzle that Tracy emphasizes, and it's probably one of his most well-known areas of expertise: goal setting.
Ah, yes, the cornerstone of personal development. I bet he has some interesting takes on that.
He does. And as you might expect, he's a big advocate for the SMART goal framework.
Of course, that's a classic. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Yep. But even though it's a widely known framework, I often find that people struggle to actually implement it effectively. It can feel a bit, corporate and uninspiring sometimes.
I get that. It can feel like just another item on a checklist rather than a motivating force.
Yeah, exactly. But Tracy brings a fresh perspective to it. He really hammers home the importance of not just thinking about your goals, but actually writing them down.
Okay. I can see how that would make a difference. It's one thing to have a vague idea floating around in your head, but it's another thing entirely to actually commit it to paper.
Right.
Yeah.
And he doesn't stop there. He also encourages people to break those goals down into smaller, more manageable steps.
Yeah, that's crucial. A big, audacious goal can feel overwhelming if you don't have a clear roadmap for getting there.
Exactly. And Tracy even suggests creating a visual representation of your goal, like a mind map or a flow chart. It just makes the whole process more engaging,
Totally. It's like you're turning those abstract aspirations into a tangible plan you can actually see and interact with.
Right, and it just helps you stay focused and motivated along the way.
Speaking of staying focused, I'm curious about what Tracy has to say about time management. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, but some people just seem to get so much more done than others.
Oh, he has a lot to say about time management. In fact, he dedicates a whole section of the book to it.
No surprise there. I'm guessing he's not a fan of procrastination.
Definitely not. But what's interesting is that he goes beyond the typical time management advice. He argues that successful individuals aren't just good at managing their time, they're masters of prioritization.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about cramming more tasks into your day, but about being strategic and focusing your energy on the things that truly matter.
Exactly. He suggests using techniques like the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle, which states that roughly 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts.
Right. The idea that a small number of actions often drive the majority of your outcomes.
Yeah, so the key is to identify those high-impact activities and ruthlessly eliminate or delegate everything else.
Easier said than done, right? I mean, in theory, it makes perfect sense, but in reality, we're constantly bombarded with distractions and competing demands.
Absolutely. And Tracy acknowledges that. He talks about the importance of creating a distraction-free environment when you need to focus on those critical tasks.
Okay, so whether it's finding a quiet workspace or using technology to block out notifications, the goal is to create a space, both physical and mental, where you can do your best work.
Exactly. And he offers a ton of practical tips for doing just that.
All right, so we've covered self-awareness, decision-making, goal setting, and time management. What else is in Tracy's thinking upgrade toolkit?
Well, another big one is problem solving. I mean, let's face it, life is full of obstacles.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And how we respond to those obstacles can make all the difference.
Exactly. And Tracy really encourages readers to view problems as opportunities for creative solutions.
So it's about shifting that mindset from, oh no, this is a problem, to, okay, how can I turn this into an advantage?
Right. He talks about developing what he calls mental resilience, which is basically the ability to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward.
That's so important. I think a lot of people get stuck in that problem mindset and let it paralyze them.
For sure. But Tracy offers some really helpful techniques for reframing those problems as challenges to overcome. Like, he recommends things like brainstorming and mind mapping to generate potential solutions.
Ah, those are classics. And there's a reason they're classics, right? They actually work.
They do.
Yeah.
And he also emphasizes the importance of learning from past experiences, both successes and failures.
That's a great point. It's easy to dwell on our mistakes, but if we can view them as learning opportunities, they can actually become valuable assets.
Totally agree. And, speaking of learning from others, Tracy also highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people.
Oh, that's a big one. I've definitely noticed that the people I spend the most time with have a huge influence on my mindset and my overall outlook on life.
Right. Tracy argues that the company you keep has a profound impact on your thinking and ultimately your success.
Makes sense. If you're surrounded by negative, unsupportive people, it's going to be a lot harder to stay motivated and achieve your goals.
Exactly. And conversely, if you're surrounded by positive, driven individuals who believe in you, it's going to have a huge positive impact.
So how do we go about building that supportive network? Does Tracy offer any specific advice?
He does. He suggests being proactive about it, like seek out mentors in your field, join professional organizations, attend industry events. It's about actively putting yourself out there and connecting with people who inspire you.
So it's about being intentional with your relationships, not just letting them happen by chance.
Right. And then building on that idea of taking control, Tracy also stresses the importance of personal responsibility.
I knew he'd get there eventually. It's a common theme in personal development.
It is, but I think it's often misunderstood. He's not saying that we should blame ourselves for everything that goes wrong in our lives.
No, of course not. That would be counterproductive.
Exactly. Instead, it's about acknowledging that we have the power to make choices and take action, even in the face of challenging circumstances.
So it's about focusing on what you can control rather than dwelling on what you can't.
Right. And that shift in mindset can be incredibly empowering.
Totally. It takes you from feeling like a victim of your circumstances to feeling like the creator of your own life.
Exactly. And finally, Tracy emphasizes the importance of continuous learning. He argues that in today's rapidly changing world, staying curious and acquiring new skills is absolutely crucial for adaptability and growth.
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. It feels like the pace of change is accelerating, and if you're not constantly learning and evolving, you risk getting left behind.
Totally agree. But I think a lot of people struggle to make time for learning, especially with all the demands of work and family and life in general.
For sure. So how does Tracy address that challenge?
He recommends integrating learning into your daily routine, even if it's just for 15 or 30 minutes a day. Like, read industry publications, listen to podcasts. Hey, you're already doing that. Or take online courses.
Right. It's about finding those little pockets of time and making them count.
Exactly. And over time, those small efforts can really add up.
They really can. So overall, it sounds like Get Smart offers a pretty compelling blueprint for success.
I think so. It's not about being born a genius. It's about cultivating those smart thinking habits that Tracy outlines.
And what resonates most with me is his emphasis on taking action. Knowledge without action is useless, right?
Totally.
He really encourages readers to actually implement these strategies and see for themselves how powerful upgrading their thinking can be.
Absolutely. So for our listeners, if you're looking to level up your thinking and achieve those big goals, I highly recommend checking out Get Smart. It's full of practical tools and actionable strategies to help you on that journey.
And you know what? I think I might just pick up a copy myself.
Great idea. All right, well, that's it for this deep dive. Until next time, keep thinking smart and keep diving deep.